I'm really happy to see everybody here. And I've been thinking about it ever since I arrived 5 weeks ago. And Maria's been a fantastic friend, introducing me to all kinds of people, especially President Hala yesterday, who was ecstatic to find out she didn't know that we were building this factory in Keflavik, outside of Keflavik, her hometown. And then right after, at the conference, in the afternoon, I met Paulie Oscar, and he didn't know about it either, and then he said, it's about time. I do have to mention one thing. Our co-founder, Kevin DaCosta, was planning on being here, and he had to cancel his trip because his mom had a stroke last week. And I just want to play a video that he was featured on Airwaves Instagram to talk about our record that we produced last year. You want to?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a bit like the next level to a download card. So you opens up a digital treasure chest of all kinds of goodies that you can get from donated by the artist. So that stems one of the artists that donated today. That stems from the music, so you can remix their record if you want. Extra exclusive video content, artwork, that kind of thing. But because it's dynamic, it means that later on, say after the conference, we can go back and get footage if you want from the conference and put it in as an exclusive to the digital treasure chest that this owner of the record has. So there's a lot more than that, but essentially that's it in a nutshell.
So you missed
a little bit like burnt candy because it's made from sugar beet and 100% organic, non-toxic record. If you did eat it, it won't kill you.
Best to play it.
Yeah, best to play it. So.
Okay, so then, all right, so last October, I came to Iceland. I had a meeting with Maria and explained to her where we were at that point. And then I had to go back to New York, but the three co-founders, Kevin, Gummy, and JB, who's also here, ran, throughout airwaves, and the record was in a bag of conference attendees, and so, but a few weeks prior to that, I received this video from Kevin. Not now. Okay. Okay, so this was the playback of this record, and that's like a very nerve-wracking thing, after it comes off the press. So there was a lot of variety in creating this record. Gummy was actually the executive producer, came up with the idea to produce this. And it's very eclectic in terms of the track listing. It was a random type of thing, right?
Yeah, so we took all the Icelandic artists and then we just put them in like a roulette on the internet, and then there was the random 9 selected were on this.
Right, okay. So, well, let me just show you a little bit about the manufacturing of this. So this actually took place in England. These are, I assume, kind of old pressing machines?
No, this is the same one I have.
This is the Viral?
Yeah, this is the Viral set from Canada.
Okay.
Warm film.
Oh, right. So, it is and Gummy operates RPM Records in Copenhagen. And I guess when I get into the, okay, so as I said before, so Gummy operates RPM Records in Copenhagen, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. So this is just basically the agenda. The news for this, and there's some members of the media here, is that we have a letter of intent to build the world's only geothermal powered record factory at the Iceland Eco Business Park. And we have members of Iceland Eco Business Park here to talk about it. We'll give you a little bit of background about both our company, thermalbeets, and Eco Business Park. And we also, one of the unusual things about the records is that they're made out of plants, 100% fossil fuel free. And I'll talk about how I first found out about that. Evolution Music, a UK company, actually developed this over the last 6 years, this material. It's just getting rolled out commercially now. And we have a couple of guests that are going to talk about the project, and including Siggi Baldursson, who was actually our second meeting after Thor Sigfusson at Eco Business Park. And then we also have Vinny Wood. Vinny, are you here?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we haven't even met. We've met. We haven't met since I moved here, actually. I see you. Okay, so this journey, this Iceland journey, began in September 2022. I was there for making vinyl, which I co-founded in 2017. And at that point, we knew that there was a renaissance of vinyl, but we didn't really know what the manufacturing world was going to be like at that point. We found out that there were 35 record factories on both sides of the Atlantic, and 17 of those companies spoke at this event. What we didn't know was there were 20 companies in the audience about to open a plant in the next 6 months. The same thing happened the next year, and it happened again and again and again. So, so it was in Germany, in Offenbach, where I had heard for the first time about this new material made out of plants. And I was like, well, this is like the first new thing I've heard about this record industry in quite a while. There's a brief...
Good morning, I'm Rachel Martin. The vinyl industry has made a major comeback in recent years. The one downfall, records are made from a plastic called PVC, which is bad for the environment. So, a company called Evolution Music is trying to fix this problem. It says it's created the world's first bioplastic vinyl record. It's made from sugar and starches. This material can allow people to enjoy their favorite artists without worrying about toxic waste, just vibes. It's Morning Edition.
Okay, so, as I said, record manufacturing hasn't really changed that much since 1888. The same concept was at play. And this schematic is pretty true to it. There's a huge boiler that, there's a lot of major process steps in the process. Now, one of the things that we've changed was we were able to get, as Gummy was saying before, an electric pressing machine, and because electricity is not that, expensive compared to every place else in the world, here because of the geothermal power, I was thinking to myself, I'm sitting on a plane, Icelandair plane. So I flew back from actually Europe via Icelandair. And it was funny, I went through my itinerary back in 2022. I didn't take Icelandair going to Europe. So it was on the way back. And I'm listening to the in-flight entertainment. And I'm going from genre to genre to genre. And I was like, these musicians are great. If there's any place in the world that might need a record factory, it might be Iceland. And at that point, honestly, all I really knew from Iceland, the Sugarcubes, Siggy's former band, Björk, of course, and then I knew Sigurds. So, I was thinking, there's an abundance of talent here. I need to research this. And that's what I did for the next few months. And it was in June 2023 in Minneapolis, where we held Making Vinyl. And Gummy and I were on a panel together about the international pressing scene. And I'm looking at his bio, and it said he was born in Iceland. And I say, oh, did you ever think about opening a record factory in Iceland? you know, because now he's been successful for 10 years now in Copenhagen. So he says, yeah, I ship 1,000 records a month there. So at that point, and then he said, and I'd love to hear from the audience if you think this is an exaggeration, that 1 out of 3 Icelanders are musicians, they're in 5 bands, and they all love records. So I said to myself, this sounds even better, you know. So do you want to talk a little bit about RPM?
Sure. Hey, good. Yeah, I started cutting records on lathe in 2015, and I did that for 3 years until we bought our press, which is the same one as you saw in the video earlier. And we've been doing that for, 7-8 years now, and sending a lot of records to Iceland, and like it is quite amazing like how big percentage of our orders are Icelandic, and yeah, always great. But I think we could mention, if we go back to our Sugar Beet record, is that I made this record for Greta Thunberg's documentary, and we tried to make it as environmentally friendly as possible. So we made it on recycled plastic, and all the paper is biodegradable, and did the sticker solution. And this was basically the most environmentally friendly way to make a vinyl record at that time. But now we're looking at plant records.
And by the way, I bought that record right before I came.
Before we met, yeah.
When I was going to Europe at Rough Trade in London.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you made that at that point.
That was a fun mission. What's also really interesting about this and doing it here in Iceland is that in order to make vinyl records now, you need to have at least 11 bars of steam in order to basically heat up the molds in order to melt the PVC plastic. And that's just the standard, and you very much need fuel, so diesel, like ours is diesel driven. Even though we try to be as environmentally friendly as possible, we still have a diesel driven steam generator. But the good thing with this material is that it can melt at 8 bars, meaning that what you were touching on earlier was that we can actually have electricity driven, and electricity driven is really good in Iceland instead of diesel, meaning that we very much can make the world's first fully sustainable pressing plant. And this is actually the world's first official plant-based record made. It's quite cool that it's Iceland Airways. Yeah, that was my...
So, all right. So at that same Minneapolis event was this man, Kevin DaCosta.
The one to the left.
But unfortunately, he and I were both too busy to talk there, because I was going to say the same thing that I said. So I was going to say, so this photo was in the Harlem, Netherlands, a few months later, about 4 months later. And I say to Kevin, I made a beeline. When I saw him, I was like, so I said, I was talking to Gudmundur about, the possibility of building a record factory. Kevin, by that point, had built 24 factories around the world. So he knows how to construct this. And then, Gummy has it's Kevin says to be Gudmundur, I call him Gummy. So that was the first time I heard that. So then I said to Kevin, okay, the 3 of us, he says, you're not going to believe this. When we were in Minneapolis, he had a 24-hour layover via Iceland Air. Michael is here in the audience. That's a great, brilliant strategy, by the way. And he went to the record shops. He went to the nightclubs. He said, I have the same idea you have. So then I implored to Kevin. I said, all right, the 3 of us have to figure this out. And we started meeting weekly via Zoom, figuring out this company. So it was and he said, I had the same idea. I said, I forgot about this slide. But the best thing was the last thing. I just became Evolution Music's technical director. I didn't even bring up Evolution Music. I didn't bring up the plant-based stuff at that point. So there was just a synchronicity. You know, the Norse gods, I think, looked down on us and basically said, the same way that I found my apartment in August so quickly is the only apartment I looked at. So then Gummy's sister-in-law had told you about the Iceland Eco Business Park. Right?
Yeah. She's friends with all of them. She's doing similar work in up north. Holland.
So then our very first meeting was at Ocean Cluster, and it was with Thor and Justine. And you want to come up and just talk a little bit about the history of...
I must tell you, it was kind of strange when Larry came with his team. I had no idea what they were going to talk about. But actually in this small room, we have a large facility at the port. You know, I had a record player, old record player, I love them. But I was so glad that you didn't go through my records because some of them are really not that cool now. I love them still. And there was Cool in the Gang and some of these like from my time. But the thing is that we took over in 2022 this large aluminum building, which was supposed to become an aluminum plant. And they had stopped working on it in 2011. And we thought to ourselves, why not use this building? We can save up to 5,000 metric tons of CO2 just by finishing up, doing sensible things with this. But what's so amazing with this building is not only the structure itself, but we're lying on a lava that's 700,000 years old. And we have already boreholes there where you get this amazing fresh water and clean ocean as well. And it's actually 11 degrees warm, so it's also, we can use that as an energy already. We have close by also the electricity both from geothermal and hydro, so we've got it all. And the best thing for many of the startups that are coming in is that they look also for the wind. They're not everybody that love the wind, but here we can cool factories with just natural wind, and it blows a lot there, I can promise you, like you know. So everything seemed to fit so perfectly. So I got in absolutely, I just love the idea to have you with us there. We have now strawberry growers from Japan. We're getting people doing fish from Korea now. We have an amazing company from Norway that's coming in with making material from natural resources that will replace plastics on football stadiums, football, like where the plastic is bothering us now. So there's all kinds of amazing new startups coming in, and you fit perfectly into it. That's my story. And I'll sit down again.
Yeah, the one thing actually that really stuck in my brain when we met was when you said, you know, Iceland is known for its culture. And as you just said, you sort of fit that category, especially what we were doing here. So the other thing, though, you said you need to go to the site, the construction site tomorrow, and meet Carton, the president of Eco Business Park, which we did. And there's Kevin and Gummy speaking to Carton. I took the photographs. And okay, so that trip, we were here only 3.5 days, running around, having business meetings, but we received major support from all these organizations. They said, we think it, when I say support, we think it's a really great idea. And in fact, Jasper Peterson from Iceland University of the Arts was also one of my first meetings. And, you know, I realized, you know, that's a serious music school among, I think, 90 or 100 music schools there are in Iceland. And then also Business Iceland, we had a meeting with them, and they've been very supportive and gave us an endorsement actually in this January, that our sustainability objectives line up exactly with Iceland's. And then I have a lot of work now to do
to start applying for all the grants, but one's from Rannis. So, and then Iceland Music, of course. So Siggi, can you explain what you thought, like the first time you heard about us?
Yes, my name is Siggi. I'm an alcoholic. No, it's not quite yet there, but yeah. When I first met these guys, the first thing I thought, they're completely mad, which is perfect. That's something that we like a lot. People have to be a little mad to sort of progress and go out of the norm. And this was definitely something that was pulling together so many different ideas in sustainability and in our world. I mean, having because yes, there's this nostalgia that I love towards vinyl. And I know I'm not the only one, and a lot of people share this nostalgia, but being able to do a pressing plant, the vinyl pressing plant that is actually economically sound and uses new material that you can actually eat. A lot of these things just sounded wonderfully cuckoo and absolutely brilliant. And I was, from the first get-go, I just thought, I have to introduce these guys to these people and these people, and Maria helped out, and everybody here was very excited about it. And I think it's such a wonderfully inventive thing, and to use this old business park. And I mean, outside of Keflavik, which is the old, I don't know if you know this, but Keflavik was called the Beetle Town, partially because of the army base. It was sort of where pop music came into Iceland, really, in a way. So I just thought there's just so many funny and wonderful coincidences about this project that are absolutely magical. And so it was really inspiring, I think, and it still is. And I really hope they get the financing to pull this off. That's my 2 cents.
No, the other thing, Siggi played a test pressing that Kevin brought.
Yeah.
And I thought I was in a cinema, like Adobe, state-of-the-art sound. And I said to myself, this is even better than I thought. This was the first time I heard the plant-based record played back. I didn't have any at that point.
Yeah.
All right, so the three of us go back to Gummy's uncle's apartment, and Kevin had his little portable record player showing us the records he bought at 12-tone R, and then we said, well, we have a lot of work to do, the three of us. We were both all three of us were in agreement. We have to see this through. Now, the fourth individual was somebody who we hadn't met yet. And it was interesting. April, you came to New York and you and I met at the TikTok Diner. And that was when you introduced me to Einar Thomason. You said, I have somebody you need to meet right away. And you set that up for me. Around that same time, I get a phone call from Brian Ekus, who's my co-founder at Making Vinyl. He heard somebody through the grapevine. He heard not the Ricky Beck grapevine, but that somebody else was thinking about building a record factory in Iceland. You might have competition. So we, through our connections, figured out it was JB. So JB, why don't you come up and talk a little bit?
So this was my like COVID sourdough. Everybody got into bread, but I started researching this consulting factory, and I've carried like refrigerator-sized amplifiers of every step in every club here in Reykjavik, as I was in a band when I was younger. So I know how it is to be like a musician in Iceland, and how great it would be to have our own pressing plant here and get it delivered quickly and a little bit cheaper, hopefully. Yeah, I will be on the operating side in this plant. I'm a marine mechanic right now, And this factory is just like a ship on land, I would say. It's the same idea, you know.
And, by the way, he gave me a copy of his record, The Pink Street Boys, featured on the cover of Grapevine, 2015 at one point. So, and Gummy talked about the record that we produced last year for Airwaves. We looked at the videos of the, and Gummy also talked about why it takes less energy. But how do sugar beet LPs sound? And what's really interesting about this slide is, and both of those testimonial quotes occurred, those came from 2 years ago. Kevin has been quietly perfecting the formula, and he said without a doubt now it's on par with a PVC record. You know, so you know we can't wait to press our next album. To prove that. So right now, as far as the company is concerned, phase 1 was to prove the concept with the Airwaves LP. Phase 2 was to establish the company in Iceland. So we went through the whole registration process. We have a Kennetala for the company. And then I have a Kennetala to be a resident, which I received in July. And then flew back over in August to find an apartment, and then you know that went very smoothly well. And you know, continuing our business relationship with Eco Business Park, and it sort of culminates today with us signing a memorandum of understanding for us to build the factory at the Eco Business Park. But in the future, you know, we're planning on opening the factory next year. We'll also have a label that will license, release records ourselves. That will be a combination of reissues, film soundtracks, also things that have been long out of print that we can you know, bring back. That's why when Paul Osco yesterday said, I have a lot of records. That was the type of thing I was thinking about. And then phase 5 is something that Kevin has talked a lot about, and it plays perfectly with Eco Business Park's circular economy strategy. So we could potentially grow the beets here, get the pellets processed into this compound, and actually the material looks and feels exactly like PVC. Mm-hmm. And the same way in the record itself, you know, it's no different. You would never guess that, you know, it's any different. Has the same weight. I mean, everything about it. It's just the material that made it is the different thing. The other thing that Kevin said in that video on Instagram is it also has, sort of bridges the digital world. That there's a QR code, but it could also be in a chip within the record that allows the artist to connect to connect whatever they want to use the record for. If they're on tour, they could
keep people updated.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they could sell tickets. They could sell T-shirts.
It should also be noted with Farm to Factory is that also we have StudioSilo that could be doing that has a lacquer cut, which is crazy.
Well, you just brought me to, so Vinny, I would love for you to come up and tell everybody what your first reaction was when you found out about our project.
Yeah. So, hi, my name is Vinny Wood, and my partner in crime, Lucas, is standing at the back there. What should I say first? Well, our reaction, being vinyl nerds and analog sound nerds, with an analog studio in the East Fjords, which we built many years ago. When we first heard about, vinyl pressing in Iceland, we were like, finally, we don't have to do it ourselves. So, because we'd already been looking into, and when you were saying about competition, it was, we'd also been looking into like buying the record press, and it was just like insane. Like, so we were just super excited. I think you guys actually also reached out to us, which was really nice. Yeah, it's just the idea of, I mean, I work with a lot of musicians through the studio, and yeah, trying to bring vinyl records into the country, import taxes, shipping, they're heavy, it's a thing. And, we used to have a pressing plant here, which I think closed in '86. It was called Alpha Pressing. It was never that good, apparently. I was born in '86, but I've heard that it was never great.
I heard that they dumped the equipment into the ocean.
I think Finkros actually crushed it.
Okay.
I got right, when I was looking for a press, I got right to the source, which was the very sad individual who his brother had thrown away the equipment when he was on holiday from Selfos. But anyway, so I was like really excited to hear from Gudmundur and the guys, and we've had many meetings. And so, to cut a long story short, we can be a part of this wonderful little chain in the East, because a couple of years ago, we managed to salvage and resurrect a machine which is probably rarer than the presses themselves, because nobody makes them anymore. At least there's company making record presses, but oops. I was thinking about showing a video of the machine, but maybe I don't need to. It's the machine that cuts the master. So it's the start. It's the point where your music, whether it's on a tape, which we can also handle, or it's a WAV file like a CD or whatever, a digital file, the point where it becomes grooves on a disc. So we have that machine. We've been using it now for how long? A year and a half?
Yeah.
And we've been cutting like short runs directly to plastic.
And it should be noted there are maybe 4 or 5 in all the Nordic countries.
Yeah,
like
there's not many of these machines.
That was like our 5 to 10 year plan to get those, and then there's already one in Iceland.
Yeah, and there was only ever one here, and it was hardly ever used. It was brought in 1962 by the National Radio, and then they put it in storage shortly after. And it was in storage for half a century. Whoa. And luckily, someone didn't throw it away. It nearly got thrown away. But we salvaged it, rebuilt it, invested millions of kroner into making it stereo, because it was mono originally. And it cuts amazing records, like incredible. And so we can potentially cut the lacquer master, which is the master disc, means that we can do that in Iceland, myself and Lucas. There's one little missing step that we're kind of working on at the moment, and I've been talking to contacts, is to do with making the molds. So we cut the disc on this lacquer disc, and then you make molds with an electroplating process. If we have that as well in Iceland, we are completely closed circuit. Yeah.
Well, we have to do the packaging as well.
No,
that's not so difficult.
No, that's not.
Right.
Yeah,
but
that's
that's on my to-do list.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be able to get to it by the end of the year to make the right. Meet the right.
Yeah, because print houses in Reykjavik, they're already able to make record sleeves on short, because the ones that we cut, when we do 20 records for someone, we can't make the sleeves for them. So we recommend print houses, and so print houses are able to make them, so that's possible. Anyway, but I'm just super excited about the whole project. We are almost ready to cut lacquers, and just really excited to be part of this little analog insanity.
Thank you, Vinny. And so, obviously, the recording studios are very important to our future. So that's also on my to-do list, to meet all the recording studios. I've been to 2 of them already. So yeah, I'm gonna go out east as soon as I can. Does anyone have any questions at this stage?
Enough said.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
The longevity of the material.
Yeah.
Has that been tried? I mean, does it last in the same way that PVC does?
Yes, it has been tested with, by the University of Liverpool. Kevin has overseen this.
Okay.
And
They ran it for 100 years, basically the simulation of 100 years,
yeah,
and seemed to hold just as long.
Wow.
And it should also be said that this one does not have static, which is one of the like basically the cancer of vinyl is that static gathers dust and then it stretches the record when you play the record, and that's just like a really known issue when you're producing records to keep the static out. And this one doesn't have it, so potentially it could hold longer. Like yeah, I mean, with the information that we have, it might actually hold longer.
Fantastic.
yeah. And the other thing that Evolution is working on is getting certified for the carbon footprint that will demonstrate that this Evo record, and they call it Evo vinyl because they do that they trademarked it as Evo vinyl because they thought, well, maybe it would be easier to communicate to people that it's a different, it's not quite vinyl, but the reason they did that was because there was a multi-purpose that they could use that same PVC alternative for the construction industry. And there was not the same sort of connotation. And there are a lot of environmentally minded musicians who love this concept. Not only that, the three majors have, basically investors want to know what's the scalability of a project like this. Well, the three majors, Universal, Sony, and Warner, in November 2023, started something called the Music Climate Collective. And they basically pledged to lower their carbon footprints. 2 years later, they still have been focused on the live touring, and they've had some, major, strides. But they're looking for solutions on the physical side. So I've already met with Universal about that. And Warner is also aware of it. I still have to talk to Sony a bit. But it's really going to be artist driven. So I contacted, just in the past few weeks, the management of Jackson Browne and Neil Young in particular, because they're both, they're my generation's, heroes. And they both were very receptive, send us records. One of the interesting things is it wasn't so easy for me to ship a record right now because of the tariff response and things like that. So, but Vinny mentioned Alpha. This is how things run in cycles. Alpha was built because the European tariffs that they had, that Iceland record stores to import had to pay, and then I guess the labels, were also, so labels also were paying extra taxes. So they said we could do this ourselves. So that's how Alpha started, I think in 1979. I'm still researching this. And, as, Vinny said, I don't think the records were all that good. But that was actually in the book Blue Eyed Pop, actually, which is my Bible now, especially since it's written in English. So, yeah, I'm sorry. But,
Should we sign the
So-
MOU?
Yes.
oh,
can do it
yes,
afterwards.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Thank you for
I
reminding
didn't
me.
want to interrupt. But officially, it's the signing of the MOU, so Memorandum Understanding between Iceland Eco Business Park and Beets Records.
Justin is the sustainability officer. Right?
Yes, I do work at Iceland Eco Business Park, so if you have any question about the project, I'm happy to answer them afterwards. We're really happy to have Beets team. They bring like a freshness to the park, and as you can see, it's an industrial space, and we really want to welcome the society and community around. So I think Beets will be one of the key to welcome people in the park and discover what they're doing. So you have a thing. Thank you. So there is two pages. And one is for beets and one is for.
Complete silence while we're doing it.
It's really quiet.
Hver er að skrifa? Gummy, ég kann vel þetta nafni.
Gummy bear.
Þetta er
7.
Now, the other interesting thing about this is we decided to launch and register in Iceland. And people are saying, well, you're going to register in the US? And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Right? No, we're committed to Iceland.
Yes, sir. Snyggt. Tack för det.